In this video, you'll learn how to make a post earring with a pearl post for a half-drilled pearl. Here I have some cut-up elements from a stamping from a Potter USA impression die, and I have drilled a hole in the center of each flower to add my earring post and the post for the half-drilled pearl. I'm using 20 gauge round wire because that's standard for ear posts and earring wires. The wire's half hard, but that's just because that's what I have, not because that's what you need for this. We're going to be soldering this in place, so it doesn't need to be half hard. It can be dead soft. Here you can see I'm cutting a small section of wire, and I'm going to do that for each of my 3 pieces. And then I'm just using the flush cutters to cut the end of each wire flat. Now I'm inserting the silver wire into my flex shaft handpiece with just a small amount of the wire sticking out and the rest of the wire supported in the chuck. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and gently squeeze the wire about 2 or 3 millimeters from the end as I rotate the wire in the handpiece. And what this is going to do is it's going to create that small little groove in the end of a post earring that holds the earring back, the earring clutch. So you can see I'm just going really slow and pinching ever so slightly. If you pinch too much, the wire will break off and you'll have to start over. So you can see I'm just creating a very small notch here, and that's for the earring clutch to rest in. That will keep the earring back on the wire from just coming off while you're wearing your earring. And here you can see what happens if you push too hard. The end of the wire will just snap off, and you'll have to do the steps again. So here I'm just moving down and pushing a little less hard this time, creating that notch for my clutch. And then I'm going to take the wire out of the handpiece and I'm going to use a cup burr. And you can choose a cup burr that's appropriate to the size of wire that you're using. This is a large cup burr just so you can see what a cup burr looks like, but it has teeth on the inside concave surface. Okay, so here I've got a smaller cup burr that fits over the diameter of my wire, and I'm just using it in the flex shaft, gently rotating my wire to round off the end of that ear post so that it can go smoothly through the ear without any sharp edges or anything like that. You can see how it rounds it off nicely, and there's that small groove cut for the ear clutch. Okay, and then you can see how the earring back snaps into place and is held on in that little groove without coming off. So that looks good. Our next step is going to be to solder these in place. So I've intentionally cut my wires longer than I need. I'm going to pay attention to the grooved end and make sure that's coming out the back side of the earring. I have these stampings facing down on my solder brick, and I'm using a soft fire brick that I can stick the wire down into. So I can press the wire down into the brick, which means the wire's coming through the front of the stamping, because that other side of the wire is going to be what we use to hold our pearl in place. That's going to be the post for the half-drilled pearl. So I'm sticking this wire down into the fire brick, down through the hole in my stamping. And then I just need to pay attention and make sure that I have an equal amount of wire protruding from the back of each earring. I want them all to be the same, and I want them to be identical. And ear post length is kind of a matter of personal preference, but you can check out standard lengths on like Rio Grande or Stoller, look at what their lengths are and decide how long you want to make your ear posts. So I'm just making sure these are all sticking out the exact same length so that when I solder them in place, all my earrings will be the same. And you can, if it's hard to press into the fire brick, sometimes I'll use the end of a tweezer, like the flat part of a tweezer, to just push the wire down into the brick. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now I'm ready to just flux and add my solder. Okay, so here I've got some paste flux. I just need a little bit on each join. And then I'm going to heat gently with the torch, focusing the heat on the stamping on the little flower, because the wire is going to heat up really fast and I don't want the solder to just flow up the wire. I want the solder to join my wire to my sheet. So if I heat up the sheet and focus my heat on the sheet, the post will naturally heat up along with everything else, and the solder will join the way I want it to. So I have a little solder pallion here. I want my join to be pretty clean, so I'm actually going to take this over here and ball it up first and then place it back at the join, and I should get a cleaner seam this way. So I have a little tiny solder ball. I'm just going to heat until the solder flows. Okay, making sure that it's flowed the whole seam, and then I'm going to do that to each of my 3 pieces. Okay, here's a little bit of a closer up look. I've got my solder ball here, and I'm going to just heat until the solder flows. Okay. And then I'll do that one more time for my last earring. Focus my heat on the sheet, heat until the solder flows. And then I will take these out and pickle them and clean them, and we'll take a look. So we'll go ahead and pull them out of the brick. You can see that wire extending. And obviously that wire is way too long for a half drilled pearl. We're going to cut it down. So here are my pieces fresh out of the pickle. And what I'm going to do is, because I've soldered this wire, it's very, very soft. So I'm going to take a flat-nosed plier and I'm going to very gently and carefully twist the earring post side of the wire. And you can see how I support the whole wire in the jaws of the plier and gently twist kind of section by section, moving down the wire. And I'm doing this to work hard in the wire so that it can function appropriately as an earring post. You don't want your earrings to be so soft that when someone goes to put them in their ear, they bend. So you got to be really careful and not snap anything off. But you can twist them and work hard in them. And then I'm going to cut the excess wire from the front of the earring off, leaving just a small length of wire to glue my half drilled pearl on. So I'm leaving probably between 1.5 and 2 millimeters sticking out, but this length is going to be determined by the size of pearls that you're using and how deep they are drilled. I'm going to use very small seed pearls, so I don't need very much wire sticking out. And then I have just these half drilled little rice pearls. You can see how they fit on that post, and they'll get glued in place. You can use like a 2-part epoxy to glue them. But I'm gonna patina the metal first and then add the pearl. So you can see I've patinaed my piece here and polished it. And then you can mix your glue and add your pearls. For this video, I'm not actually gluing them in place. I'm just showing you how things would look once they're finished. And then you'll see that the earring back snaps into place and you have a perfect little post earring with a half drilled pearl, and it's adorable. And that's it. Go ahead and check out our website and our YouTube for more. Thanks, guys.